What if this time you didn't stop halfway? What if this time you didn't let the voice in your head talk you out of it? What if this time you didn't fold when things got tough? What if this time you just did it? You kept going. You followed through. You stood up and said, why not me? See, that's the question we're not asking enough. We keep saying, why me? Why the struggle? Why the weight on my shoulders? Why the pain? Why the work? But stop right there. Flip the question. Why not you? Why not you being the one who turns it all around? Why not you being the first in your family to break a cycle? Why not you waking up early, putting in the reps, showing up when no one else does? Why not you building something from nothing? Why not you chasing what they said you'd never catch? See, people talk a lot about potential, but what does potential mean if you never act on it? What does it mean to have talent if you never test it? What does it mean to have a dream if you never move toward it? Let me ask you something honest, real honest. How many times have you promised yourself that this time would be different? That this time you'd commit? That this time you'd show up and not just talk about it? You swore you'd be disciplined. You swore you'd stop making excuses. You swore you'd finally take control of your life. And then life got loud again. Distractions showed up. The alarm went off and the bed felt too warm. The gym felt too far. The work felt too much. And just like that, you let yourself down again. You broke the promise again. But what if this time you didn't? What if this time the voice in your head said, we're doing this? Not just dreaming, doing. Not just hoping, executing. Not just talking about change, becoming it. And yeah, it's going to hurt. It's supposed to hurt. Change doesn't come easy. Growth doesn't feel good. You think comfort builds champions? You think rest builds legends? Number struggle does, obsession does, consistency does, pain does, but most of all, choice does, the decision. That moment when you say, I'm tired of living half a life, that's where it all shifts. And if you're sitting there thinking, but I don't have the resources, let me stop you. You don't need resources. You need resourcefulness. You need to use what you've got. You need to make something out of nothing. That's what great people do. They build from the ground up. They create in the dark. They train when no one's watching. They learn when everyone else is wasting time. They push when it hurts. They go again when it's not fair. And they don't need a round of applause to keep going. They clap for themselves. Now let me say something you might not have heard enough in your life. You are capable. You are capable of more than you know. You are capable of pushing further than you've ever pushed. You are capable of rising higher than you've ever dreamed. But only if you stop waiting for perfect conditions. Only if you stop waiting for approval. Only if you stop waiting for the timing to feel right. The truth? The timing will never feel perfect. The confidence will never come before the leap. You want courage? You earn it. You build it. You train it. One rep at a time, one uncomfortable step at a time. People always say they want change, but when change knocks, they don't answer. They hide. Because change doesn't come in the form of a pretty package. It comes in the form of work, sweat, tears, setbacks, sacrifice, isolation. And you have to be the kind of person who says, bring it on. You have to be the kind of person who looks at the obstacle and says, this is where I grow. You have to be the kind of person who sees fear not as a stop sign, but as a green light. That fear you feel, that's the direction. That's the path. You run toward it. And when you fall, and you will fall, you don't stay down. You don't sit in the dirt and sulk. You don't say, I guess it wasn't meant for me. You get back up. You say, so what if I failed? So what if I got knocked down? I'm not done. This isn't about talent. This is about grit. This is about who's willing to bleed for it, who's willing to fight for it, who's willing to be misunderstood, laughed at, underestimated, and still keep going. You've got to get to the point where your reasons are louder than your excuses. And I get it. Maybe you weren't born into opportunity. Maybe your family didn't hand you anything. Maybe people told you that you weren't enough. Maybe they looked at you and saw average. But guess what? You don't have to accept their label. You don't have to live in their version of you. The world doesn't get to decide what you're worth. You do. You decide by your actions. You decide by your habits. You decide by what you do when no one's clapping. So here it is, the moment the fork in the road. This is where most people turn back. This is where they say, it's too hard. This is where they say, maybe next year. This is where they make excuses, but not you, not this time. This time you go further. This time you keep walking when your legs are shaking. This time you stay focused when life throws distractions in your face. This time you don't give in to the voice that says you can't. You say, watch me. Because it's not about what you've done before. It's not about the mistakes. It's not about the time you lost. It's about what you do next. It's about how you show up today, because you can't change yesterday, but you can rewrite the next chapter. You can take the pain and make it fuel. You can take the fear and make it drive. You can take the doubt and turn it into fire. And you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, why not me? Why not now? The truth is, the world is full of people who almost did something, who almost chased the dream, who almost started the business, almost went all in. You see them every day. They talk a big game. They have ideas. They've got ambition on paper, but when the pressure comes, they fold. When it's time to act, they wait. They spend their lives with their foot halfway on the gas, halfway on the brake, wondering why they never move forward. But what if this time you didn't live an almost life? What if you finally pushed both feet down and went full throttle? You were not born to be average. You weren't put here to coast. You weren't designed to fit in. You were built for something more. And somewhere deep down you know that. That's why it bothers you to waste time. That's why you feel that pull when you see someone doing what you wish you had the courage to do. It's not jealousy. It's your potential talking. It's that whisper in your soul reminding you you've got more in you. So why are you holding back? Are you afraid of failing? Good. That means you're aiming high enough. That means your dream matters. That means you care. But don't let fear turn into paralysis. Don't let it freeze you. Because let me tell you something powerful. You can fail and still win. You can fall and still rise. You can break and still rebuild. But you can't sit still and expect change. You can't stay safe and expect growth. You can't tiptoe your way through life and expect to leave a mark. There is no greatness without risk, no mastery without repetition, no transformation without pain. You've got to want it more than your excuses, more than your comfort, more than the applause, more than the likes. You've got to want it in your bones. You've got to want it enough to be laughed at, to be doubted, to be misunderstood. You've got to be okay being alone on the journey, because most people won't get it, and that's fine. They don't need to. Your vision wasn't given to them, it was given to you. So protect it, work on it, obsess over it, and refuse to quit on it. This isn't about hype, this is about discipline. The kind of discipline that shows up when no one's watching. The kind of discipline that kicks in on the hard days, the boring days, the lonely days. The kind of discipline that gets up at 5 a.m. not because it's trendy, but because it's necessary. Because you made a promise to yourself. Because your goals demand it. Because your future deserves it. You think greatness is glamorous? It's not. It's gritty. It's dirty. It's painful. It's repetition. It's setbacks. It's sacrifice. It's choosing long-term gains over short-term comfort. It's choosing to be misunderstood now so you can be respected later. And it's lonely sometimes, but the ones who keep going through the loneliness, the ones who keep working through the dark, they come out the other side forged, sharpened, built different. So again, why not you? Why not be the one who breaks the pattern? The one who chooses discipline over distraction, ownership over blame, progress over perfection. You don't need the perfect plan. You don't need the perfect time. You just need to move, start, go. Take one step, then another, then another. And when your legs give out, crawl. And when you can't crawl, dig. But never, ever stop. Because every step you take rewrites your story. Every ounce of effort earns you respect, self-respect. People ask, how do you stay motivated? You don't. You don't rely on motivation. You build momentum. You stack days. You stack habits. You show up on the days you don't feel like it. And that right there is the secret. Anyone can move when they're fired up. But the greats, the truly unstoppable ones, they show up when they're tired, when they're discouraged, when they're broken. Because they know The only way to win is to outlast the quitting point. You've already proven that you can survive. Now it's time to prove that you can thrive. You've been through storms, you've seen pain, you've lost, you've doubted, but you're still here, you're still breathing, you're still standing, and that means the fight is still yours. That means there's still time. That means the best version of you is still possible, but you have to choose it. Don't waste this moment, don't waste this breath. You're not too late, you're not too broken, you're not too far gone. The question is not, can you do it? The question is, will you? Will you rise? Will you start over? Will you stay focused when life tries to break you? Will you carry your dream through the fire and say, this is mine, and I'm not letting it go? Because nobody's coming to save you. You've got to save yourself. You've got to bet on yourself. You've got to become the hero you've been waiting for. The world doesn't hand out trophies for good intentions. It doesn't reward you for thinking about showing up. It rewards execution. It rewards those who get up after life knocks them flat. Those who rise not once, but every time. Those who find something inside themselves that refuses to die. You've got to develop that fire, that grit, that hunger, the voice in your head that says, keep going, even when your body says, we're done. That's the real difference between the ones who make it and the ones who almost did. The ones who make it do it anyway. They don't wait for the stars to align. They don't wait until they feel like it. They get up and they get it done. Cold, tired, hurt, heartbroken, they still show up. They still keep their promises to themselves. And listen, your life doesn't change in one massive moment. It changes in small, quiet decisions. The decision to wake up early. The decision to put down the junk food. The decision to hit the gym. To make the call. To ask the hard question, to walk away from what's killing your momentum. It's the little choices that create the big shifts. Everyone wants a breakthrough, but nobody wants to bleed for it. This is what separates the good from the great, sacrifice. What are you willing to give up? Are you willing to give up comfort for growth? Are you willing to give up Netflix for discipline? Are you willing to give up parties for preparation? Are you willing to be misunderstood in order to be remembered? Because here's the truth. Extraordinary is just ordinary with more effort, more consistency, more intention, more sacrifice. You're not born great. You build great. Day by day, habit by habit, thought by thought. And it starts the moment you stop waiting and start acting. What if this time you didn't just dream about it? What if this time you finished what you started? What if this time you didn't make excuses, you made moves? What if this time you shocked everyone, including yourself, and became everything they said you'd never be? People will doubt you, life will test you, and your mind will try to convince you to quit. But that's when you double down. That's when you remind yourself, the person I want to be is built in this exact moment. Not when it's easy, but when it's hard. Not when you're inspired, but when you're exhausted. The world isn't changed by the person who had the idea. It's changed by the one who followed through, by the one who chose to act again and again until that action became identity, until discipline became second nature, until winning became inevitable. Don't run from the struggle, embrace it. You need it. It's the furnace where greatness is formed. You've got to be willing to get uncomfortable. You've got to be willing to fail forward. You've got to be willing to show up scared. That's how you build courage. That's how you build resilience. That's how you build a life you can be proud of. So ask yourself, when your back's against the wall, who are you? When it all falls apart, who do you become? Do you shrink or do you rise? Because that moment will define you. That moment will reveal the truth about your character. And you want that truth to scream, I kept going. Why not you? Why not now? Why not be the example? Why not be the proof? Why not become the story that someone else will point to when they need hope? You could be the one who breaks the cycle. You could be the one who changes the family tree. You could be the one who proves that discipline wins. Not talent, not luck, not status, but discipline. You don't need permission. You don't need applause. You just need commitment. You need to go all in on you. Not halfway. Not if it works. Not I'll try. All in. You're not dipping your toe in the water. You're diving in with everything you've got. Because anything less than that won't get you where you want to go. And look, This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. It's about consistency. It's about stacking days and showing up when it's boring, when it's hard, when no one's watching. Because that's where greatness is made. That's where confidence is built. Not from the results, but from the reps. From doing the work day after day, no matter what. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. So build systems that force you to grow. Build habits that make success inevitable. And then trust the process. Not for a week, not for a month, for life. You've been playing small for too long. You've been talking about it for too long. You've been putting it off for too long. It's time to burn the backup plan. It's time to stop overthinking and start executing. You've read the books, you've watched the videos, you've taken the notes. Now it's time to move, so go. Go. Not because you're ready, but because you've waited long enough. Go. Not because it's guaranteed, but because the alternative is to stay exactly where you are. Go. Not because you feel like it, but because your future self is counting on you. Stop rehearsing failure in your mind. Stop reliving every moment you fell short. Stop telling yourself the same tired story about why it won't work. You've carried that story long enough. It's time to write a new one. What if this time you didn't stop at the first setback? What if this time you finished what you started? What if this time you didn't get in your own way? Most people will quit when it gets hard, but not you. Not anymore. You've been through too much. You've survived too much. You've sacrificed too much to turn around now. You're not walking away. You're walking through. You're going to make it through this moment and the next and the one after that because you said so. That's what this is. This is a war between the old you and the new you, between doubt and belief, between hesitation and action, between your past and your purpose. You want to feel proud of yourself? Don't look for praise. Don't wait for applause. Earn it in the dark, when no one sees you grinding, when no one sees you rising early, staying late, doing the work, when you're sore, tired, and could quit, but don't. That's when you become dangerous. That's when you become undeniable. You can't control the timing. You can't control the obstacles, but you can control your response. You can show up anyway. You can speak life into your dreams. You can walk with conviction even when the path isn't clear. You think the people you admire never doubted themselves? Think again. They just did it anyway. They doubted and did. They feared and moved. They failed and kept going. The difference wasn't that they were fearless. It was that they didn't let fear make their decisions. This is what I want you to hear. You're not behind. You're just starting. You're not late. You're just getting warmed up. You haven't wasted time. You've been learning. You've been preparing. And now it's time to step into it. Fully, loudly, relentlessly. Because there is nothing more painful than the regret of knowing you could have. There is nothing heavier than the weight of what if. Don't let that be your story. Don't let that be your ending. Let your life become a story of what happened when you stopped waiting and started doing. What happened when you tuned out the noise and turned up the work? What happened when you got so locked in that the world couldn't distract you? What happened when you bet on yourself again and again and didn't flinch? Because the truth is, the best version of you is built under pressure. It's built through fire, through trial, through moments that stretch you and nearly break you. But they don't break you. They build you. They introduce you to a side of yourself you didn't even know existed. They teach you what you're made of. They carve out the toughness, the wisdom, the clarity that only comes from doing what's hard on purpose. So stop asking, what if I fail? Start asking, what if I fly? What if you succeed beyond anything you've imagined? What if everything you want is on the other side of this one hard choice you've been avoiding? What if this time you actually followed through? What if this time it was you, that person who gets the call, who takes the stage, who walks across the finish line, who looks in the mirror and finally sees a finisher, a closer, a doer, a builder, a champion? You can't tiptoe your way into greatness. You've got to storm into it. You've got to earn every inch. You've got to look at your fear and say, move. So stop waiting for the right time. You've waited long enough. You've told yourself someday for too many years. Someday you'll start. Someday you'll change. Someday you'll show the world what you're capable of. But how many more somedays are you going to stack on top of each other before they collapse into regret? There comes a moment One loud, defining moment where you finally say, enough. Enough waiting, enough doubting, enough preparing to prepare. This is that moment. You don't need more time, you need more courage. And courage isn't something you're born with. It's something you build, brick by brick, every time you act in the face of fear. Every time you take one more step when every excuse in your mind is telling you to quit. Every time you show up when it's easier to stay home. Courage doesn't show up with a cheer squad. Courage is quiet. It lives in the decisions you make when no one is watching. It lives in the choice to do something even when you don't feel like it. It grows stronger each time you prove to yourself that you're the kind of person who follows through. That's the key. If you want to change your life, you have to become the kind of person who trusts themselves, not because of what they say, but because of what they do. You can lie to the world, you can fake it on social media, you can craft the perfect version of yourself for other people to admire, but you can't lie to the person you see in the mirror. You know whether or not you're doing the work. You know if you're playing small, you know if you're hiding, and here's the truth. Most people are hiding. They're afraid of looking stupid. They're afraid of starting at the bottom. They're afraid of being a beginner. But if you let fear of looking bad stop you, you'll never start anything worth doing. The price of greatness is being misunderstood, underestimated, and uncomfortable, over and over and over. Greatness is not glamorous in the beginning. It looks like repetition, like sacrifice, like showing up when no one is clapping. It's boring, it's hard, it's lonely, but that's the filter. That's how it works. That's how the world separates the dreamers from the doers. Most people will quit before they even begin. They'll choose comfort. They'll choose ease. They'll choose a life they don't really want, just to avoid temporary pain. But not you. Not anymore. You're not afraid of discomfort. You're not afraid of effort. You're afraid of wasting your potential, of dying with your greatness still locked inside of you, of leaving the world without ever knowing how far you could have gone. That's what you're really scared of. And that fear, it's not a weakness, it's your compass. It's trying to tell you something. It's trying to wake you up. Listen to it. Let it push you. Let it pull you toward the life you're meant to live. Because here's the thing. Success doesn't come from doing everything. It comes from doing the right things over and over until they compound. It comes from choosing growth over comfort every single day. It comes from having a clear, unshakable vision of the person you want to become and refusing to live one more day as anyone less. That's what this is about. It's not about motivation. Motivation fades, it comes and goes, it can't be trusted. What you need is identity. You need to become someone who acts in alignment with their values, no matter how they feel. You need to train yourself to move even when you're tired, to stay focused even when you're surrounded by distractions, to keep going even when the progress is invisible, because that's when transformation happens. Not when it's easy, not when it's exciting, but when it's hard, when it's boring, when it feels like it's not working. That's where most people quit. That's where most people give up and go back to what's comfortable. But that's also where the few keep going. And because they keep going, they cross a line that most people never reach. It's not that they were more talented. It's not that they were luckier. It's that they were willing to do what most people aren't. And if you're still reading this, that's you. You wouldn't be here if you didn't feel the fire. You wouldn't be here if you weren't ready. So stop shrinking. Stop dimming your light to make other people comfortable. Stop pretending you're less than what you are. You've got something in you that the world needs, something real, something powerful, but no one is coming to find it for you. No one's going to beg you to get to work. That's on you. You've got to be your own motivation. You've got to be your own rescue mission. And the only way to do that is to start showing up like your future depends on it, because it does. Your future is being shaped right now, today, in the choices you're making. And those choices are either building your dream or breaking it. Every time you snooze the alarm, skip the reps, avoid the hard conversation, you're building a future you'll want to escape from. Every time you push through, take action, lean into the challenge. You're building a future you'll be proud of. It really is that simple. Not easy, but simple. The difference between the life you have and the life you want is a handful of habits repeated relentlessly over time. That's it. So what if this time you actually committed? What if you didn't wait to be chosen and you chose yourself instead? What if this time you didn't ask for permission to change your life? What if you didn't wait to feel confident and just moved with courage anyway? Confidence is a result. It's not a requirement. Action comes first, always. And most people never figure that out. They wait to feel ready. They wait to feel good. They wait until their fear goes away. But the fear never leaves. It just waits. It waits for the moment you let your guard down. It waits for the moment you slow down. It waits for the moment you give up. But it can't touch you if you keep moving, if you act before your doubt gets too loud. Because the truth is, confidence is built in the doing. It's built in the failure. It's built in the repetition. You earn belief in yourself by showing yourself what you can do, not by thinking, not by wishing, by doing. And maybe you've tried before. Maybe you've given up before. So what? You're not that person anymore. You don't live there. You've changed since then. You've learned since then. You felt more pain, more disappointment, more frustration, and guess what? You're still here. That means you got another shot. That means it's not over yet. That means you still have a choice. And maybe you don't need to prove anything to the world, but you damn sure need to prove something to yourself. You need to prove that you can keep a promise. You need to prove that you're not a quitter. You need to prove that the version of you that shows up today is stronger than the one who gave up last time. Because what if this time it actually worked? What if all the struggle, all the failure, all the pain, it all finally made sense? What if this time all the sacrifices finally added up to something real? You'll never know if you don't try again. You'll never know if you don't commit all the way this time. Not halfway. Not I'll try. Not we'll see. All in. No plan B. No safety net. Because when there's no backup plan, you make the first one work. When there's no escape, you burn the boats and fight like your life depends on it. Because it does. This is your life we're talking about. Not a game, not a warm-up, not a dress rehearsal. It's your one shot at becoming everything you were created to be. So why not you? Why not be the one who breaks the cycle? Why not be the one who does what everyone said couldn't be done? Why not be the one who goes first? So your friends, your family, your kids know that it's possible. You don't have to be the smartest. You don't have to be the strongest. You just have to be the most relentless. You just have to keep showing up when most people would quit. You just have to want it bad enough to do the work when it's not fun, when it's not easy, when it doesn't feel good. Because greatness is not about motivation. It's about discipline. It's about deciding that you will become the kind of person who finishes what they start. And that starts now. It doesn't start next Monday. It doesn't start when life slows down. It doesn't start when things feel right. It starts now with the next choice you make, with the next thing you say, with the next action you take. It starts with turning off the noise and turning on your focus. It starts with choosing faith over fear, discipline over distraction, purpose over pleasure. It starts with deciding that you don't need another reason to do it because you are the reason. Your future, your freedom, your legacy, that's reason enough. But if you want more, think about this. What's the cost of not doing it? What's the cost of waking up in 5 years in the same place, with the same regrets, with the same dream still locked inside of you? That cost is higher than any risk you'll ever take. The cost of not trying is always more painful than the cost of failure. People will doubt you. People will talk. People will misunderstand you. But that's part of it. If you're not being misunderstood, you're not doing anything worth remembering. If people aren't asking questions, you're probably not taking big enough swings. Let them doubt. Let them talk. Because someday soon, they'll have no choice but to watch. To watch as you rise. To watch as you transform. To watch as you become everything you told them you would. And when that day comes, it won't be the applause that drives you. It'll be the quiet pride of knowing you didn't quit on yourself. So what if this time you gave it everything? What if this time you made the commitment and kept it? What if this time you stopped playing the victim and started acting like the creator? What if this time you believed in yourself before anyone else did? What if this time you didn't need proof? You became the proof because you don't need more motivation. You need movement. You need to put one foot in front of the other. You need to show up. You need to do the next right thing, no matter how small. That's how momentum is built. That's how transformation happens. Small step, small step, small step, big life. And maybe no one notices at first. Maybe no one claps. Maybe no one understands. That's okay. This isn't about them. This is about you becoming the person you promised yourself you would become. Let them sleep, let them scroll, let them waste their lives waiting for the perfect moment. You've got work to do. You've got people to impact. You've got a mission to fulfill. You've got a life to live. The kind of life that makes you proud to wake up every morning. The kind of life that pulls people up just by watching you live it. That's what's on the line here, not just your success, your soul, your purpose, your reason for being here. So don't just ask, what if this time I did? Decide. Decide that this is the moment you stop holding back. Decide that this is the moment you stop wasting time. Decide that this is the moment you become the version of yourself you've always known you could be. Why not you? Why not now? What if this time you silenced every voice that said you can't? What if this time you no longer waited for permission, for the perfect conditions, or for someone else to tell you that you were ready? Imagine what your life would look like if just for once you committed fully, not halfway, not when it's convenient, not when you feel like it, but every single day. That version of you, the one who wakes up with intention and purpose, who doesn't snooze dreams for temporary comfort, who isn't dictated by fear or what other people might think. That version of you is possible. But it takes more than talk. It takes action. It takes a decision to become unrecognizable to the version of you that kept settling, waiting, avoiding. The difference between where you are and where you want to be is not talent. It's not luck. It's not connections. It's commitment. It's waking up and doing what you said you would do long after the mood is left. It's deciding that no excuse is bigger than your why. It's understanding that discipline will carry you where motivation won't. And when people ask you why, you won't say because it was easy. You'll say because I owed it to myself. Because every second of hesitation was costing you the future you could have built. Because every time you listened to doubt, you let fear steal a little more of your fire, but not anymore. You're done dimming your light so others feel comfortable. You're done folding under pressure. You're done giving up when it gets tough. Because you understand now, tough is the point. Resistance is the point. No growth happens in the comfort zone. Your dreams are not in the safe zone. They live out there, in the chaos, in the grind, in the hours when no one is clapping, when no one is posting about it, when it's just you versus you. That's where transformation lives. And if you can win that fight, if you can win that battle between your present self and your potential, then nothing will ever be the same again. So no, it's not supposed to be easy. If it were, everyone would be living their dream. But they're not. They're distracted. They're tired. They're comfortable, and they stopped believing, but not you. You're still standing. You're still hungry. You've still got that spark that says, what if this time I did? What if this time you made no excuses? What if this time you didn't listen to the voice that said, just quit? What if this time you didn't flinch? You kept showing up every day on the days you were tired, on the days you were sore, on the days when everything told you to sit down. What if, against all odds, you refused to be average? What if you decided that your legacy started today, not tomorrow, not next week, but today? What if you said no to the distractions and yes to your destiny? You don't need more time. You don't need more resources. You need a shift in identity. You need to stop identifying with who you've been and start acting like who you're becoming. And the truth is that person is already inside you. Not waiting to be found, waiting to be built. And it starts with doing the hard things, the boring things, the things no one sees but you. It starts with stacking wins when no one is looking. That's how you build confidence. Not from hype, not from validation, from doing what needs to be done when you least feel like doing it. That's the foundation. That's the real flex. And while the world is busy seeking attention, you'll be stacking discipline. While others are counting likes, you'll be counting reps, because you're not here to be impressive. You're here to be undeniable. You're not here to compete with others. You're here to compete with who you were yesterday. You're not here to settle. You're here to become. And becoming is a process. It's gritty, it's messy, it's relentless, but it's worth it. Because once you get a taste of the version of you that doesn't flinch under pressure, that doesn't bend when the storm hits, that keeps moving forward no matter what. That's when you'll realize, this is who I was always meant to be. And suddenly, everything changes. The obstacles don't shrink, but your power grows. The challenges don't disappear, but your capacity expands. You stop asking, what if it's too hard? And start saying, let's find out. And when life tries to break you, you don't shatter, you sharpen, you cut through the noise, you carve a path through the resistance, you refuse to back down, because this time you didn't hope, you decided, you chose yourself, you bet on yourself. You became the kind of person who doesn't need motivation because purpose is enough, vision is enough, growth is enough. You made peace with discomfort, you befriended the grind, and now you're not just chasing success, you're becoming someone who creates it, who attracts it, who expects it. You've stopped apologizing for your ambition. You've stopped playing small so others feel big. You've started to own your space, your journey, your story. Because finally, you realize that greatness was never out there. It was always inside you, waiting for you to stop doubting, waiting for you to stop delaying, waiting for you to just start. So here's your moment. Take it, build it, bleed for it, protect it, live it, be the one who did. Because if not you, then who? What if this time you did it without waiting for someone to believe in you first? What if you stopped auditioning for approval? Stopped waiting for the world to give you permission to go all in? See, that's where most people stay stuck. Not because they lack talent, not because they lack potential, but because they keep looking outward for something that has to come from within. They don't realize belief doesn't come after the win. Belief is the fuel that gets you there. Most people wait for confidence to act, but real ones act to build confidence. You build belief through action, through movement, through momentum. You wake up and decide that today you're going to move, even if it's small, even if you're scared, even if you don't know where it will take you, because forward is forward, and forward is where everything you want lives. You don't have to see the whole path. Just the next step, that's it. You're not required to have it all figured out. You're only required to show up again, and again, and again. Because in this game, showing up is 90% of the win. Let the rest of the world hit snooze. Let them scroll. Let them doubt. Let them stay stuck in the same cycle, talking about change instead of doing something about it. But not you. You've got work to do. You've got something inside you that you can't ignore anymore. That voice, that itch, that pull. It's been there for years. And no matter how far you've buried it under distractions, it always comes back, and it will keep coming back until you do something about it. So let me ask you this. What would happen if this time you did? If this time you didn't shrink, didn't hesitate, didn't say maybe next year? What would your life look like if instead of hoping it might work out, you said, it's happening, and I'm the one making it happen? The answer is simple. Everything would change. You wouldn't be waiting for opportunities. You'd be creating them. You wouldn't be hoping to be chosen. You'd be choosing yourself. And you wouldn't be settling for average because you'd know you were born for more. Don't let that sound like a cliche. Let it hit. Let it sit in your bones. You were born for more. You know that. That's why you're still reading this. That's why you're still here. Because deep down, something in you refuses to settle. Something in you knows that playing small is a lie. Something in you is done with excuses and delay and fear dressed up as logic. Something in you is screaming, let's go. And now it's time to listen. Time to stop overthinking and overanalyzing and just move. Time to take the first rep, the first post, the first call, the first step. It doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be done. Because done is what builds progress. Done is what builds muscle. Done is what builds greatness. And you're done watching other people live your dream. You're done clapping for everyone else while your own goals collect dust. You're done cheering from the sidelines. This is your life, your time, your race. And the only way to win it is to run. Not walk, not tiptoe. Run with your flaws. Run with your fear. Run with your uncertainty. Just don't stay stuck. Don't stand still while your potential screams for motion. There is no perfect plan. There is no right time. There's only now. And you don't get another now. You get this one. You get today. And you don't need to feel ready. You need to act ready. You need to carry yourself like the person you want to become until one day you look in the mirror and realize you are. You became them through the grind, through the setbacks, through the tears and the silence and the days when nobody saw you. You built that person. You didn't fake it. You fought for it. And now every scar, every late night, every early morning, every I can't that you turned into watch me, it all paid off. But that starts here, now, in this moment, with one decision: to stop letting the old version of you call the shots, the scared version, the distracted version, the version that always needed a reason to try. You don't need a reason, you need a decision. And that decision has to be bigger than your fear, bigger than your circumstances, bigger than your comfort. You have to want this badly enough to change. You have to want it badly enough to wake up earlier, to stay focused longer, to train harder, to study deeper, to risk more. Because yes, it's risky, but so is staying the same. So is wasting your potential. So is reaching the end of your life with regret heavier than any weight you ever lifted. That's the real cost. And when you understand that, when you really understand that, you realize that the risk of trying is nothing compared to the pain of never knowing. So try, dare, start, building rise, become, whatever it takes, whatever it costs. Be relentless, be obsessed, be so determined that even doubt gets tired of trying to stop you. Be so consistent that even your old habits can't recognize you. Be so locked in that no excuse survives in your presence. And when the world tells you to be realistic, smile and say, watch me. When it gets hard, and it will, remind yourself, this is the price of freedom. This is what greatness demands, and I'm built for this. Every scar, a badge, every failure, a lesson, every time you kept going when others quit, that's what makes you rare. That's what makes you ready. And someday, maybe sooner than you think, someone will look at your story and say, that inspired me to change my life. But first, you have to write that story with sweat, with sacrifice, with the grit to do what most won't. Because that's the kind of story worth telling. And it all starts with one question: what if this time you did? What if this time you didn't let fear decide for you? What if fear wasn't the voice you followed, but the alarm that reminded you to move? What if you stopped mistaking nerves for a warning and started seeing them as a compass pointing you toward growth? That's the trick. Most people feel fear and hit the brakes, but fear is proof that you're near the edge of who you've been, and the edge is where transformation happens. You can't grow from the middle. Growth lives at the edge of comfort, the edge of logic, the edge of what if I fail? Because the real question is, what if you don't? What if you don't go for it? What if you don't speak up? What if you don't train, build, climb, act, commit? That's the scarier future. That's the nightmare. Not failure, inactivity, not pain, regret. You want a real reason to act? Picture yourself 5 years from now. Same habits, same schedule, same fear, same dream, still unrealized. Now zoom in, look in that mirror. Do you like what you see? Or do you see the ghost of potential still waiting to be unleashed? This isn't about hype. This is about legacy. This is about waking up one morning and knowing with zero doubt that you gave your everything, that you didn't coast, that you didn't float, that you pushed, and that when it got hard, and it will get hard, you didn't fold. You adapted, you kept swinging, you kept writing, kept building, kept training, kept talking to yourself like a champion, even when no one else believed. Because belief isn't a group activity. Belief is personal. You don't need the world to believe. You need you to believe. And belief is built through follow-through. Say you're going to do something, then do it. Do it when you're tired. Do it when you don't feel like it. Do it when the world's not watching. That's how you become dangerous. That's how you go from wishful thinking to undeniable. People will say, you've changed. And they're right. You had to. Because you finally got tired of the old version of you. Tired of the self-doubt. Tired of the overthinking. Tired of sitting on dreams while others lapped you. You woke up to the truth. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody owes you anything. And that's not harsh. That's liberating. Because it means it's all in your hands. That kind of power is scary, sure, but it's also freedom. You want change? You don't need a better plan. You need better execution. You need to stop tweaking and start doing. Perfection is the enemy. Start messy. Start now, because you'll learn more in one day of action than you will in a year of preparation. And every time you move, every time you try, you send a message to your brain, we are doing this. We are this kind of person now. That's how identity shifts. That's how confidence is forged. Not by affirmations alone, but by aligned action. That's the work. That's the standard. So raise it. Raise your standards. Raise your level of commitment. Raise your expectations of what you demand from yourself. Stop settling for 70%. Stop coasting on potential. The world doesn't respond to potential. It responds to performance. It rewards those who put in the reps, especially when no one's watching, who keep promises to themselves, who show up and show out every single day. What if this time you actually finished? What if you stop stopping right when it starts to work? That's what so many people do. They quit at the first sign of difficulty, not realizing difficulty is the entrance fee to the next level. They step back the moment it burns, not understanding the burn is how you build. You don't get strength without resistance. You don't get progress without pain. And you don't get your dream without pushing past the urge to quit. This time, what if you finish the plan? Not for a day, not for a week, all the way through the resistance, all the way through the self-doubt, all the way through the boredom, the plateaus, the quiet weeks where no one claps for you and it seems like nothing's working. Because those are the weeks that separate dreamers from doers. Anyone can show up when it's exciting, but when it's hard, when it's slow, when the results don't match the effort yet, that's where champions are made. You want to know the truth? Most people already have the blueprint. They've read the books, watched the videos, made the plans. The issue isn't information, it's application, discipline, execution, doing the reps, building momentum when you don't feel motivated. And that's why most people stay stuck, because they think motivation is a prerequisite for action, when really action is the prerequisite for motivation. You move first, then the feelings follow. You act first, then the belief builds. You want to be confident? Keep showing up. Keep the promises you make to yourself. Prove, one hard decision at a time, that you are the kind of person who finishes. That's what changes your identity. That's what flips the script from, I hope this works, to, I make things work. And if you think your background disqualifies you, you're wrong. If you think your mistakes mean you can't rise, you're wrong. That pain, that brokenness, that's your fuel. That's your story. And your story matters. Because somebody out there needs to know they're not alone, that it's possible, that redemption exists, that strength can grow out of struggle, but they won't know unless you go first, unless you become the proof. You've got to live your comeback story, not just daydream about it. That means sacrifice, that means risk, that means silence sometimes, because the work isn't always loud. The work is early mornings, late nights, quiet decisions, hard conversations, choosing the right thing over the easy one, doing one more rep, reading one more page, making one more call. That's how you close the gap between who you are and who you could be. One moment at a time, one decision at a time. There's this voice inside you. Maybe it's been quiet for a while, buried under doubt or fear, but it's still there. It's the voice that says, I'm made for more. It's the whisper that refuses to die. The dream you keep revisiting even when you try to walk away. That's not coincidence. That's your calling. And every time you ignore it, you shrink a little. You numb yourself to your own potential. But when you listen, when you act, you wake up something in your spirit. And that fire, it spreads, it grows, it becomes purpose, energy, direction. And suddenly life doesn't just happen to you anymore. You're driving it. You're not drifting. You're designing. You're creating. You're choosing discomfort in the short term because you believe in the long-term reward. And it's not about perfection. It's about direction, about course correcting, about doing the work imperfectly but relentlessly. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't need external permission to be great, who doesn't wait for a sign or for someone to say, you're ready. No one's going to knight you. No one's going to tap your shoulder and declare it's your time. You decide it's your time. You declare it. Then you act like it's true. You become the type of person who wakes up early, not because it's fun, but because your future self deserves it. who says no to short-term comfort because they want long-term excellence, who accepts the fact that most people won't understand you because they don't have your vision, and that's okay. You're not here to be understood. You're here to build, to create, to become. This isn't about proving people wrong. It's about proving yourself right. What if this time you actually kept your word to yourself? Not to impress anyone, not to prove anything to anyone else, just for you. What if you honored every commitment you made in private, even when nobody was watching? Because here's the truth. Your life changes the second you stop breaking promises to yourself. That's the difference between someone who changes and someone who wishes they could. Follow through. Integrity with yourself. That's the foundation. That's what builds real confidence. Confidence doesn't come from compliments or trophies. It comes from repetition, from struggle, from doing what you said you would do long after the feeling you set it in is gone. It's about consistency, not intensity. You don't need to be perfect. You need to keep showing up, keep pushing, keep going. Every single day, life is asking you one question. How bad do you want it? And your actions are the answer. Not your words, not your dreams, your grind, your discipline, the way you show up when nobody's clapping, when the process feels dry, when the results are slow. That's where champions are built. That's the invisible work, the unseen effort that makes all the difference. And here's the real kicker. Your future doesn't care how you feel. The life you want doesn't care about your excuses. It only responds to your actions, your work, your resilience. That's what earns you the life you say you want. Not hope, not intention, execution. So what if this time you stop negotiating with your weakness? What if you stop giving your excuses a seat at the table? You already know how the story ends when you give in to comfort. You've seen that version of your life. So what if you chose the other one? The one where you walk into the fire instead of running from it. The one where you face your fear instead of hiding behind distractions. The one where you go all in. No exit plan, no fallback, no half effort. What if you actually bet on yourself for once? Because let's be real, your potential isn't the problem. Your consistency is. Your decision-making is. Your willingness to endure pain in the short term to build greatness in the long term, that's what's stopping you. But here's the good news. You can fix all of that. Starting now, starting today. You don't need a new plan. You need new habits. You don't need new goals. You need relentless pursuit. You don't need motivation. You need commitment. You don't need easy. You need unstoppable. And if you're waiting for a perfect time, stop. It doesn't exist. The perfect moment isn't coming. You have now. And what you do with it will shape what comes next. There's nothing more dangerous than waiting. Procrastination isn't laziness. It's fear. Fear disguised as logic. Fear disguised as strategy, but it's still fear. So ask yourself, what would I do if I weren't afraid? What would my life look like if I stopped letting fear make my choices? And then do that. Live that answer. People always talk about mindset, but the real shift happens when you stop thinking of yourself as someone who's trying to change and start seeing yourself as someone who already has. Identity drives behavior, so if you keep telling yourself you're inconsistent or lazy or broken, you'll act accordingly. But if you start telling yourself, I'm the kind of person who doesn't quit, I'm the kind of person who gets back up, I'm the kind of person who finishes, you'll act accordingly too. You become what you repeatedly tell yourself you are. So speak with purpose, think with clarity, move with intention. What if this time you did the hard thing first instead of avoiding it? What if you made discipline your default instead of your last resort? What if you stopped asking for permission and started claiming your place? There's no rule book. There's no referee. It's just you, your decisions, your habits, your legacy. Most people never tap into their real power because they let fear win one too many times. They traded the pain of growth for the comfort of staying the same. They folded when it got uncomfortable. And they spent the rest of their lives calling that wisdom or being realistic. But don't let that be you. Don't settle for a version of your life that's 30% of what it could be. Don't fake happiness when you know you were made for more. Don't distract yourself with busy work when deep down you're hungry for purpose. Lean into that hunger. Let it drive you. Let it wake you up earlier. Let it push you when you want to stop. Let it separate you from everyone who gave up when it got hard. Because here's the thing, pain is guaranteed, regret is optional, and you get to choose. You get to choose discomfort now or disappointment later. You get to choose growth or stagnation. You get to choose the story you tell 1 year from now. I'm so glad I started, or I wish I had. And that choice gets made in 1,000 small moments. When the alarm goes off, when the workout sucks, when no one believes in you, when you feel tired, lonely, misunderstood, that's when it counts. That's when the real change happens. What if this time you stopped running from the truth that you've been playing small, that you've been pretending like you don't know what you want, when deep down you do, that you've been waiting for the world to give you permission instead of giving it to yourself? What if you dropped the mask? What if you owned your fire? What if you finally admitted out loud that you were born to do something big, that you have more inside you, that you're not okay with average, that comfort is killing you slowly, that you are done making excuses, that this is it, that it's go time? You see, most people walk through life with the volume turned down on their potential. They silence the roar inside because the world told them to keep it quiet. Be realistic, be practical, don't get your hopes up, don't fail, don't stand out too much. So they build lives that look good on paper but feel empty in their hearts. They chase approval and applause, but inside they feel invisible. They trade purpose for popularity. They chase money and forget meaning. But what if you refused to do that? What if you decided that from this moment forward, your life would be lived at full volume? What if you chose your voice over their opinions? This isn't about arrogance. This is about authenticity. This is about becoming so brutally honest with yourself that you can't help but level up. It's about choosing truth over comfort, choosing purpose over popularity, choosing movement over stagnation. Because deep down, you already know what you need to do. You've known. You just haven't been doing it. Not consistently, not completely. You start, then stop. You build momentum, then sabotage. But what if this time you didn't? What if this time you showed up every single day like your life depended on it? Because it does. It's not just about fitness or finances or success. It's about the kind of person you are becoming, the kind of soul you're shaping, the kind of legacy you're building. Every choice is a vote. Every decision either reinforces your old identity or helps you become your future self. There's no neutral. You're either building or breaking, evolving or eroding. So if you're not intentionally creating the life you want, you're unconsciously accepting a life you don't. What if this time you went past your limits instead of stopping at them? What if you rewired your mind to see resistance not as a stop sign, but as a signal to keep going? Because the truth is, the version of you that's waiting on the other side of all this hard stuff, that version is worth it. The confident you, the focused you, the disciplined, resilient, unstoppable version of you is waiting. And every rep, every hour, every sacrifice gets you closer. It's not punishment, it's preparation. It's not pain, it's a proving ground. You want to know how people become unstoppable? They do it by being consistent when it's boring, by staying calm when it's chaotic, by choosing discipline when it's inconvenient. They stop asking for motivation. They stop waiting to feel like it. They build systems. They build structure. They build inner power, not for the world, but for themselves. So when the world doesn't cheer, they're still moving. When people doubt them, they're still moving. When it's slow, when it's painful, when it's messy, they keep showing up. Because they know that consistency compounds, that small wins create massive momentum, that greatness doesn't happen in one big leap, it happens in 1,000 unsexy, overlooked steps. So what if this time you played the long game? What if you stopped looking for hacks and shortcuts? What if you accepted that mastery takes time and gave it the time it needs? What if you stopped comparing your journey to someone else's highlight reel and just committed? What if you trusted yourself enough to stay the course even when it feels like nothing is happening? Because here's the thing, everything is happening. Every second you don't quit, you're growing. Every time you say no to your old habits, you're winning. Every moment you don't break, you build. You just don't always see it right away. But that's what separates the few who rise from the many who settle. It's the belief that the effort matters, even when the results are invisible. What if this time you gave it 100 without needing a guarantee? Could you do it? Could you show up fully without needing validation, without applause? Could you go all in, not because it's safe, but because it's worth it? Could you look in the mirror and say, I gave everything I had today, and let that be enough? Because that's what it takes. That's what real growth requires. No one is coming to save you. No one is coming to do it for you. But also, no one can stop you. Not if you lock in. Not if you decide. Not if you commit. Because once you make that decision, once you decide that you're done playing small, done waiting, done hoping, it all changes. So what if this time you did? If you're serious about changing your life, don't just watch. Take action. I just launched TGP University to personally coach you on mindset, self-development, business, and financial freedom. We do live Zoom calls every week, answer your questions, and give you the tools to level up for real. This is where the real growth happens. Link is in the pinned comment. Go join us now before you fall back into the old you.